As a new player starting out in Warframe, I never really had time for the Torid, nor did I want to farm the mutagen masses when I was having so much fun with the Hex shotgun. Today, however, I want to see exactly what the Torid is capable of. Hey guys, hello and welcome back. As always, my name is Leyzar, and today we're going to be diving deeper into this Mastery Rank 4 secondary weapon. I'm going to be building something cheap and affordable that anybody can build, but of course we also have the classic endgame setup with a Riven. That being said though, please keep in mind that my builds and guides follow a new player friendly approach, simply because there's a ton of information here and I want anybody watching to understand how the weapon functions and how it should be built. So if you're a veteran of the game and already know most of this stuff, you can either skip ahead or have a bit of patience. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Torid. Let's begin by checking out how the weapon behaves without any mods equipped, and for that I'm simply gonna be taking a couple of free shots. The Torid is an infested grenade launcher, and as you can see the grenades can stick to surfaces, and you're looking at two damage sources. Firstly, the projectile actually hitting a target, and secondly, the noxious cloud it leaves behind for 10 seconds. Now as you can see, it is advantageous because it simply sticks to whatever, including enemies, though keep in mind that the impact damage is only 100 toxin damage. As for the cloud itself, it deals 4 times that amount, 400 toxin damage by default, but over the course of 10 seconds. The fire rate unfortunately for the Torid is pretty slow. Also the projectiles are pretty slow when it comes to travel time, and there's a pretty obnoxious drop off as well. And that's pretty much it. Let's jump into stats to see precisely what we're dealing with. Mod capacity is gonna be 60 out of 60, and if your Torid has only 30 out of 30, jump into actions and install the Auto King Catalyst. Now this one can be found from Alerts Invasions or the Daily Sortie. If you're looking at this at around MR4 or 5, you probably don't have access to the sortie just yet. Don't worry about it too much, no need to Google it, simply progress further through the story and you will. Next, my Torid has been formatted a total of 6 times, but this was done only for the purpose of testing. For the weapon builds I'm recommending you guys, free Forma is more than sufficient. Free Vs, simply add free Madurai symbols. The accuracy for the Torid is 100, which is fantastic, pinpoint accuracy, but you gotta contend with the drop off, with the slow travel time, and in general with the Torid what you wanna do is kinda hit them with the cloud effect, because again that deals the most amount of damage, though it is over 10 seconds. The critical chance is pretty low at 15%. When it comes to primary weapons and 15% critical chance, this is what I like to call barely workable. So you can go a little bit into crit, is not a terrible idea, especially considering that if you want to stack the same multiplier over and over again, well, that consistently gets less value and less value the more you stack on. Crit multi is 2.0, which is pretty decent, a fire rate of 1.5, a magazine of 5, and a reload of 1.7 seconds. Unfortunately, the fire rate is a bit low. Then again, we are looking to stack multiple gas clouds, and that's not going to prove too difficult. The Riven disposition is going to be 4 out of 5. That means that the Rivens for the Torid are going to be pretty powerful. If you don't know how Riven disposition works, it's kind of like this. The more popular a weapon is, the lower the Riven disposition. The less popular a weapon is, the higher the Riven disposition. So from this one you can conclude that the Torid is not a very popular weapon. A higher Riven disposition would mean that you get more stats on Rivens, the amount. So you can get the crazy amounts like, I don't know, 250% Multishot, for example. The status chance for the Torid is 23%, and this carries over to the grenade as well. Trigger semi, and you see you have default toxin damage, and that's it. No IPS, no anything. So it's gonna be easy for us to proc the elemental we want, especially considering that that base status chance is not bad at all. Now you see 500 damage default on the Torid. Keep in mind that this one is the total damage. It takes into account the impact damage, once again the projectile hitting the target, and the gas cloud damage over the course of 10 seconds. In actuality, you get 100 toxin damage when the projectile hits the target, and 400 toxin damage of the cloud itself over the course of 10 seconds. A bit kooky, isn't it? Yes, but this is simply how the Torid works. In any case, let's start slapping on some mods, starting with mandatory mods. Serration 100 and 65% extra damage. Now when it comes to damage, there's one good-ish, I want to say, alternative, and it's called Heavy Caliber. Now this one is a corrupted mod, and you can get it by doing vault runs. Link in the description right now. Actually no, link in the cards right now, upper right corner, so you can see an easy way mode to farm corrupted mods. Now this one will cost a lot of endo to max out, and it gives you 165% extra damage, which is the same amount as serration, but it takes 55% of your accuracy away. And your eyeballs might have jumped at the sight of 2.7 from 100 to 2.7. How does that math work exactly is not important at this point, but it does function, I think, correctly in Warframe, so there you go. Now if I slap on heavy caliber on the weapon, you will see that the actual projectiles themselves, look at that, I mean, they can take really weird travel paths, especially when we're gonna be using some multi-shot, look at that one. But considering that we want to get damage with the gas cloud, you can work with heavy caliber. I do recommend you using it. I never really tried to get damage with the first projectile itself because it's slow, because it's clunky, because it doesn't deal that much damage, and to be honest, when you're talking about a game as speedy as Warframe, you can just forget about that one. So we're gonna be using heavy caliber. Once again, keep in mind that it is a pretty strong negative when it comes to the accuracy. Next, we're gonna go to crit chance and crit damage. Thankfully, this is a primary weapon, so we can use Point Strike, which gives us 150% critical chance, bumping the crit chance to 37.5. Now, that's nothing stellar, but it's not terrible either, so we're gonna keep it like this, and we're gonna be using Vital Sense for our critical damage. 37.5 with 4.4x crit multi. Once again, that multiplier is pretty good, pity about the low base crit chance. Then again, this is only MR4. Next, you gotta add some elemental damage to the weapon, and elemental damage should always be applied depending on circumstance. Where are you going? Who are you fighting? For example, the Torid can do fantastically well versus the Infested. AoE weapons heavily modded into hit is what I recommend when talking about the Infested. Keep in mind that their elite units, such as Ancient whatever, are equipped with a different type of armor, and they would be weak to corrosive damage. But again, against Infested, don't worry too much about them unless you want to go endurance runs and simply build heat. If you're talking about Corpus faction, the Torid will do fantastically well against them, simply because Toxin will bypass their shields entirely and deal damage directly to their health. Or you can build the elemental combo of Gas. If you really must nuke down shields, however, if you have something you want to do and want to destroy shields, then I would recommend you build magnetic damage. When you're talking about the Grineer, these are still the toughest targets in Warframe, and when it comes to the Grineer, they have two armor types, Alloy and Ferrite armor. Alloy will be weak to radiation damage and Ferrite will be weak to corrosive damage. Also keep in mind that Toxin does do 25% more damage against Ferrite armor. So let's build some, shall we? Corrosive is the elemental combo between electricity and Toxin. We're going to be using the 60-60 mods. They provide much better results than the 90 mods, but keep in mind that the 60-60 mods, when you're talking about level 60, 70, 80 content, I wouldn't really bother too much with it. For lower level content, let's say up until level 80s, let's put it like that, then I would just go for the 90 mods. So if you guys don't have high voltage, this one, it is farmable from the mission Nilfgaard, the planet Eris. You gotta find all the free secret caches, then upon extraction you got a 5% chance of getting this one or Shell Shock, and you will need both of them for your primary builds. If you don't have it, if you don't have the Plat 4050 from the trade, then you can simply use Stormbringer, the 90% electricity mod. But if you do have it, yes, it does come in quite handy. Next, Toxin with Malignant 4, 60% Toxin, 60% status chance. This one is a lot more cheaper and easy to farm from Corrupted Vor in the Void. Next, we're gonna be going to Multishot, the best thing on everything, and we're gonna be adding Split Chamber and Vigilante armaments. 90% Multishot and 60% Multishot, totaling 150% Multishot. Now for the Torid, that will mean that I have a guaranteed second grenade flying out, and I also have a 50% chance at a third grenade. Now before we test this build, which is the recommended build for you guys, but once again, if you don't have high voltage, simply forget about it and use Stormbringer instead, no problem. There is a mod that should really be mentioned. A few weapons can use it, including the Torid, and it's called Firestorm. Now check this one out. Improves the blast radius of specialized launcher weapons by 24%. So your area, your gas cloud, is going from 3 meters to something like, I don't know, 3.6, 3.7 meters, something like that. So it might be worth going for Firestorm. Initially, we're going to be testing the build out like this. Just keep in mind that Firestorm is cheap and it will provide a big impact on the weapon. We're going to be spawning in some real high level targets. These are Corrupted Heavy Gunner level 120, way miles above MR4. But let's see what the Torid can do. I'm going to be stacking gas clouds. So as you can see, I'm getting plenty of ticks, and the orange crit that you just saw, that is a crit up from Vigilante armaments. Now let's see what a full clip did to these guys. It fully removed their armor. Now you see this guy has an orange health bar and this guy has a red health bar. No more armor, and this guy still has armor. And you might think, hey, that is fantastic. Well, it would be fantastic if you plan on using a different weapon now to finish him off. But considering that the weapon is pure corrosive, I'm actually dealing less damage now to the target without armor and more damage to targets with armor, because my 75% bonus damage to corrosive also from corrosive also disappears with the target's armor. So bear that one in mind. You know what, for an MR4 weapon I was expecting this to be a goddamn joke, but it's not. It strips armor like nobody's business. And here's a cool trick that I found out from one of my viewers. What you can do with these gas clouds in a corridor is simply build blast damage, and you can perma CC all the targets within the corridor. You got a pretty good status chance, so there you go, you can play into something like that. For an MR4 weapon, this is pretty respectable. The problem I take with the Torid, however, is how slow and clunky it is. And you know what, this is entirely subjective, absolutely, but I just don't enjoy this style of weapon. But if you like this style of weapon, you do have an option for a secondary as well, and I would recommend you look into the POX. Link in the cards for a full POX review right now. And well, I believe that's pretty much it for a standard build. I would call that respectable for an MR4 weapon, but nothing endgame worthy. Now there's one more thing, let's bump up everything with a Riven. Check this one out, I got a Torid Kriata and I paid 100 plat for this one. It's got damage and critical chance. Critical chance on the Torid is not exactly the most ideal stat to have, but you probably noticed if you want the Torid to hurt, then it needs to crit. My problem is that base critical chance of 15%. Now with Point Strike and the Torid Kriata, I'm getting 63.3%. Now I can go into something like Argon Scope. If you have that one, you can go and further increase your critical chance, but it still won't go to 100%. We're going to be testing the weapon out like this. As you saw, it is the same as the standard build, with the exception that the Riven took the place of Vigilante armaments. And I guess actually using the Riven would be a good idea. God, sorry guys, there we go. This is the Riven setup. Very well, we're gonna be spawning in Corrupted Heavy Gunner level 120 and see what kind of a difference we can get with a Dispo 4 Riven. It should make quite a difference. I was surprised initially when I didn't see that huge of a difference. But as you can see, you are getting a lot more critical hits, though you are not getting those critical ups anymore from Vigilante armaments. And of course, Dispo 4 Rivens will make a bit of a difference. I'm still overstripping, there's really no way around that unless, well, even if you build something like heat on the weapon, for example, okay? To minimize those corrosive procs, and even if you fully strip, then you can get the heat, which does 25% more or 50% more, I don't remember, to clone flesh. You're still gonna be overstripping a little bit. But as you can see, the Torid can pack a serious punch if you get a decent Riven. Though I don't necessarily encourage critical chance, critical damage Rivens because of the base critical chance of only 15%, so keep that one in mind. Next we're gonna pump up everything with Warframe Buffs, and for that, of course, I'm gonna be using the ever so lovely Lady Mirage Prime. Now let's get rid of this. When it comes to auras, you can use something like Rifle Amp, which will get you 27% extra damage to rifles. Being an aura, that means that everybody in your party will be receiving this benefit, and it is stackable times 4. When you're fighting Grenier, however, keep in mind that Corrosive Projection will always get you better results, but Rifle Amp will grant its benefit regardless of the target. Honestly, these Rifle Amp things and amps in general aren't 100% worth it from my point of view, unless you want to get the absolute maximum you can out of a weapon. Now when it comes to arcanes, Arcane Rage is gonna be the best one you can get. On headshot will get you a 10% chance for plus 120% damage to rifles for 16 seconds. Farmable from the third idle on down on Cetus. If not from the trade chat, I think you're looking at about 80-ish plat currently on PC. Your second arcane, you can go for a bunch of things. You can even go for your commodity arcane, something like Guardian or Energize. But for more damage, Arcane Avenger. Now this one will get you a 30% critical chance boost bonus additive after, so it simply stacks on top of what you already have. So my Torid from 63% critical chance is gonna be going to 93% critical chance point, whatever it has. And we're gonna be testing the weapon out like this. Spawning, once again, Corrupted Heavy Gunner level 120, and we're gonna be unpausing the AI so they can hit me and I can get my beautiful buffs. And of course, Mirage's free ability for a massive damage increase as well as her clones. And you will see that she can absolutely destroy these high level targets. Nobody should be getting out of the noxious cloud. Now the Torid as a whole, I'm not the best person to judge the weapon because I simply can't look at it objectively. I don't like this style of weapon, but it can prove efficient with the right buffs, with the right build, with the right Riven, and so on and so forth. And considering that this is only an MR4 weapon, it performed a bit better than I thought. I simply don't like the design pattern of weapons such as this. But as you can see, they can be absolutely beautiful. Just keep in mind that I am running some rather extreme Warframe buffs. And well, that's pretty much it for the review. As always, my name has been Leyzar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. If you have any feedback for me or would like to request a specific weapon review, then by all means, leave it in the comment section down below. Now, I can't realistically promise you it will be done by next time or even within a week because these reviews do take quite a bit of time, but I will be reading through each and every comment. You can also find me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. Until next time, my friends. Bye-bye.